So I'm Annie Schusler, and I'm here with Bari Tessler, who is a financial therapist, a mentor coach, the founder of the Art of Money program, and also now the author of the book, The Art of Money, which is just coming out tomorrow. And in fact, by the time you're hearing this, will already be out on shelves. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we're within 24 hours of it going live.
Yeah.
And I can feel the energy. It's already increasing. So getting exciting. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So, and I am a member of the Art of Money program this year, which is a year-long program. And I've been getting so much out of it. And I've also already read the book. So I'm really excited to get to share your work with this community. And so one thing I want to jump in with is for you to just tell folks how your work is a little bit different than a lot of what they may have run into when they look into getting help with money.
Okay. So there's a lot of good traditional financial management books out there, mostly written by men, some women, and there's a lot of them, right? When I was finishing graduate school to become a therapist and training in somatic psychology, and the school loan came due, it was so clear to me that this was a missing piece in my own education. It was a missing piece in graduate school. We studied, like, every topic under the sun, beyond the sun. And how was I going to start a private practice and work with couples? And how was I going to do the bookkeeping of it? And on and on and on. So for me, that was a moment, and I'm saying this just because it's important, because there's a lot of therapists that we get wonderful training, and we do a lot of work on ourselves, and we continue to and will for the rest of our lives. And this is still such a missing piece for so many of us. That's changing. And I just want to say it's okay, and it's changing, and it was not part of our training for most of us. And so when that school loan came due, when my graduate school loan came due, I said, as you know, I'm either going to go running away and travel the world, or I'm going to face this. Yeah. Now, if I'm going to face this, I have to imbue all the qualities that I love about life and all the qualities that I'm bringing to other aspects of my life and my relationships. So there has to be some deeper meaning. There has to be sacredness. There has to be playfulness. Yeah. There has to be beauty, all these things. So all these psycho-spiritual practices that I was living, I needed to bring them into my relationship to money. And then when I came to the point in my journey when I realized I wasn't the only one with this lack of financial education, and I wanted to not only study this myself, but at some point when I looked around and realized I wasn't the only one, that my entire community, no matter what background they came from, and Nairobi University, this is 23 years ago, it was mixed with folks who came from very wealthy families who paid for the education, and then another group of folks that had to take out student loans, right? So no matter what background, economic class we came from, no matter what family, no matter what religion, no matter what ethnicity, we all have money issues. Yeah. And all those strengths and challenges. And just to complete this, I got to see that I wasn't the only one, and that I was ready to do this work for myself. And pretty soon into that, I realized that I needed to create a methodology for my community, for myself, to take myself on this path, and then for my community. And so when I went out in the woods and said, what am I supposed to bring back? I got the 3 phases that I teach, the money healing, money practices, money maps, and have been teaching it for 15 years, which we can talk more about. But so why is it different? It's an unshaming, gentle, loving approach to having a relationship to money that's conscious, that's mature on our own terms, that's savvy, And so it's I love traditional financial management tools, and I
Mm-hmm.
studied them a bit, and I love studying the macro side of money a bit. And for me, this is about having a relationship to money on a practical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual level. And so many folks do parts or pieces of this.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do a full holistic approach. And of course, I know many dear colleagues that do as well. They're financial planners or accountants or bookkeepers. So that's a little bit about how it's different, and it's creative. It needs to
Mm-hmm.
be, I didn't mention that quality. I was saying playfulness, deeper meaning, sacredness, beauty. And my God, if I'm going to have a relationship to money in this area of life, it has to be creative. It has
Yeah.
to be creative.
I also think one thing I've experienced as a therapist and as a member of the program is that there's room in your methodology for everything. So I think that's unique about your program is that, when you're stepping into doing money work, I think with everything I had learned up to this point, it had been, put other things aside and use money tools and, get a handle on your finances. And then stepping into your program, it's like there's room for all of you. There's room for all of your feelings about money. There's room to work through them at your pace rather than trying to push them aside and charge forward.
So those are some other pieces that are really important to me, and that
Mhm.
if I would have to say what's unique or different, you're highlighting some more things. One is that a lot of traditional financial management tells you what to do and
Mhm.
how to do it in a very specific way.
Mhm.
It's a bit intense, and you need to follow the rules, and you need to, and so for me, that I don't like to follow rules. I'm a bit rebellious. So I'm not going to create a program that's it's going to give you a framework. It's going to give you the tools and practices, and then I want you to make it your own. And I know and trust that deep inside you have a strong intuition. Maybe that hasn't been cultivated yet, but can grow into a different capacity. And that's part of my training and background, is that I need to trust that in people, and I want to, and I do, and I believe that. So I'm also giving a lot of tools that come from my somatic psychotherapy background that are essential for me in parenting and life and intimacy and relationships and growing my business. And so I bring a lot of somatic tools as a foundation, as the base, and it's teaching people how to listen to their own body's wisdom and their own intuition. And my God, we have so many feelings and reactions and emotions and sensations when it comes to money. We
Yeah.
project so much onto it. So to have our body as a foundation, to have some tools on how to listen to our body, for me it's essential. And I guess that is very different than how other people teach it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you notice? I mean, you're a therapist yourself, you're a financial therapist and trained as a somatic therapist. What do you notice, if anything, is different for therapists in business than maybe other people when it comes to their relationships with money?
So my experience, and I see this with a lot of us, is that there's a few things. One, we weren't supposed to talk about money or want money or
Mhm.
strive for money. And that was very confusing.
Mhm.
As a 20 something year old with a master's degree, working in the field, working in hospice, making $11 an hour.
Mhm.
So, therapists, from my experience, we are supposed to do our good work. We all want to do good work, right? We all
Mhm.
really deeply care. And that's what's leading for most of us. But we also want to make a nice livelihood.
Mhm.
And we need also to have a lot of self care if we're going to do this work and thrive in it and
Mhm.
keep doing it for years and years. And so I just remember it was just a missing topic
Yeah.
um, on all levels. And then we really were supposed to somehow do our good work and be compensated, but not really want money or go after money. And it's never the money. It's really just, what does that represent? What
Mhm.
does that give you? What's the lifestyle? What are the values that can be represented? What can we do with our money? What else about therapists? Therapists also, we know our value and
Mhm.
we know our value. And sometimes I interchange our sense of value with our sense of worth. And we know what that is, meaning we know what our gifts are and we know what our superpowers are. And yet we don't necessarily know how to bring that to the marketplace
Yeah.
and create a savvy, successful practice with it. And so this is where our value is experienced and felt and known, completely separate from how much money we have, how much money we make, the dollars in our bank account. On one level, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
It comes from just being born a unique human with unique gifts, right?
Yeah.
Period. Then, though, as therapists and in anyone in any profession, we need to create a livelihood and a living out of it. And I mean, the whole business side of things was just completely left out of my graduate training. And so for
Yep, mine
me,
too.
yeah, when we go to price our services, now it's within a range because we're in a profession and there's a range of what people charge at the beginning, middle, and end. And
Mhm.
it's also, who do we want to serve? Do we want to
Mhm.
serve a lower income community? Do we want to serve wealthier folks? I have a lot to say about this, so there's the piece around how do we bring our work to the marketplace and how do we charge for it, um, and how can we get savvy to create a business model that really works, because I also feel like we don't have that many options as therapists.
Mhm.
There's private practice, there's working in the mental health field more as a social worker, and then what are the other options? And for me, that's also where I rebelled a bit, and I
Mhm.
chose not. I chose not to be licensed, and it was a juncture. It was a moment where I went to a supervisor, and we had many, many, many sessions discussing, should I go down this path? I already have a master's degree. I already wrote a 150-page thesis. Do I jump through more hoops and stay in the mental health field? And I chose not to, but I had no idea what was coming. I had no
Mhm.
idea what my options were. Um, and then eventually realized that group work is what I love. And you can also leverage or balance out the time for money with private clients with, leveraging group work and being able to make more money, which for me, business models are always about how do I integrate our value with our lifestyle, with how do we serve in the best way,
Yes.
also create a sustainable, lucrative business or practice. I do say I'm a creative entrepreneur more than I have a practice. Um, so I think I'm touching on a few of the things with therapists. We weren't supposed to talk about money, strive for money, and it wasn't
Yeah.
part of our training. So how are we going to sit with couples when on the surface, supposedly this is the main reason we get divorced? It's not
Mhm.
real. It's that we don't know how to talk about money. We don't have a relationship to money, right? So on the surface, it's money, but it's all the underlying things which we can talk about more. And
And
then
I
there's
think
this.
it's the one area that I think money is the one area that so many therapists have less comfort talking about than any other. Like we can ask people about sex, we can, talk about spirituality, anything. But when it comes to money, I think a lot of times we haven't done that healing work that we've done in so many areas. So yeah.
So how do we hold space for our clients when we haven't
Mhm.
done our own money work? And
Mhm.
maybe even in the sessions, we get triggered, we have sensations, we have feelings, we have experiences by this money stories that are being shared.
Mhm.
Um, we all come from different backgrounds. We all assume, and I realized this pretty quickly that this wasn't true, that, and that's why I do group work, is
Mhm.
I wanted people to see everyone from different backgrounds, that we all have money issues, we all have strengths and challenges, and no matter what family you were born into and what economic class, that you had things to overcome,
Mhm.
and that there was some beauty there, but we all had challenges, and sometimes we even had the same challenges, even though someone from a wealthy family had all their needs taken care of, their practical needs, maybe their emotional, psychological, spiritual needs weren't taken care of. And the way that translated in them and how that played out in their earning and saving and giving and spending may look exactly like someone who comes from a middle class family, or someone who comes from, I used to say lower class, and a lot of my folks say, no, I grew up in a poor family. That's how they say it. So they had different sets of challenges, but there may have been a lack in some way, and it plays out in the same way. I mean, that's why I started doing groups right away, is so that as soon as we start telling our stories and we would get to someone who came from a wealthy family and the room got quiet, and I knew half the room was thinking, well, if I came from that family, I'd have no issues. All my issues would be solved. And we got to see more and more that is just absolutely not true, right? So, but how, if this is left out of our training and we don't do our own money work, how do we talk to our clients when we need to raise their fees?
Yeah.
When we're working with someone who makes a lot more money than us or less, or on and on and on and on. So we need to first do our own money work. That's why I love working with therapists and coaches, but we do have our own set of issues around what I was saying. We're not supposed to want money, strive for money. Oh, it's not spiritual. That was a biggie for me. Like this whole money area and business and bookkeeping is so not spiritual. They're all kind of bad words, and I kind of forbid them, and then one by one I just integrated them and brought them in and said, okay, how can I do this in my own way? How can I do this in a way that feels good? And therapists are doing wonderful work, and they need to be paid really well, but sometimes it's hard to fill a private practice because people cancel and reschedule. And what's that experience like? That's challenging, that's stressful. And so I've always wanted to bring in additional business models for therapists. And I really love that. Yes, I got online, but at first I was local in California for 7 years. And then I got online because I had my son right before my 40th birthday, and we had quite a recovery after my labor. And I said, I don't want to leave my house anymore for my work. I have to figure out a new way. And so that's why I got online. But I think we also get stuck in business models and possibilities, and I think there's a lot more options for us.
I do too. And that's something that I help people look at, is really opening up and looking at who they want to serve, and then getting creative about the different ways that they can serve those people, and with the goal that it's going to meet your financial goals, which is something else I wanted to ask you about. You've got this practice of having people set 3 different levels of where they might want their income to be, which I love. It was one of those things where it was like, oh, that's brilliant. How did you come to that idea of, well, tell us about the 3 levels.
Okay. So the 3 levels are money healing, money practices, and money maps. 15 years when I visioned them, it was financial therapy, values-based bookkeeping, and life vision planning. It's the same doorway or phases, right? And over the 15 years, I've taught in small groups for years of a 10-person group. Then I moved to 20 and just kept expanding. So I've taught this material over and over and over. And while it's the same phases as it was 15 years ago, the way it expands and evolves is because of the community. And by working in community, and I'll realize a few years in, oh, we need a whole piece on forgiveness, or we need money healing rituals, or we were going to family of origin, but we weren't going back to lineage or ancestry, and so it just has deepened and evolved by the community and seeing what it needs and everyone talking to me and it being a dialogue. So the first phase is our work as therapists. It's knowing your story in this area of life, knowing your current story around earning and spending and saving and giving, what's working, what's not, going back to family of origin, and I don't like to stay there forever, but I like to go back to pull up some gems, to see what was true, what wasn't, to find out where a lot of beliefs were created, a lot of financial identity was created. Is that still serving? Was that more of just to rebel? That I talk a lot about, are you stuck in your teenager phase around money? Are you way back in your toddler phase or infant phase? And that so many of us develop in so many areas of life, and that money is still back in one of those phases, right? So we need to grow it up, mature it. And then a lot of forgiveness and money healing rituals, and bringing unshaming to your entire money story, and really understanding your patterns and nuances, and bringing in the somatic tools. So that's the whole money healing. There were years where I thought, well, let's just get rid of that. Haven't we all done enough therapy already? Really haven't, like, and then I keep coming back to no, because we would, for my community and the way I like to work, we would go to the money practices and people would freak out.
Yeah.
We would look at numbers, people would freak out. I just found that really getting into our stories, and some people, I've always called it money healing, but someone in the community recently said it's more money consciousness. And I was like, great, we always need it. So just bringing more awareness, which leads to understanding and change. So then when we get to the money practices, you have tools, right? And some people are surprised themselves, and they're suddenly so excited to set up a bookkeeping system for the first time, learn the language. And that's all about learning the language of money, setting up a self-care practice, setting up a money self-care practice where it's 5 minutes a day or 15 minutes every few days, right? So crafting a practice that works for you, where you sit down and have money dates with yourself, with your honey, right? So there's all that piece, and that's where we really get into values too, and what are your values, and renaming categories. And then we get to what you're talking about.
Wait,
so there's
will you say that one thing about renaming categories? Because I think that's so important. I think therapists will really love that.
So this happened 15 years ago. It was earlier. I read a Gloria Steinem book. I always thought it was a revolution from within, but it's not, because we searched high and low to get the correct quote. And it was another book, and I can't think of it, but it's one of her books. And she tells a story of all of a sudden she started having this waking dream of what if she was crossing the road one day and suddenly got hit by a car and was down, knocked out, unconscious on the ground, and people came running up to her to see if she was okay, and started going through her belongings to see who she was and if she was okay. And somehow her checkbook was like the first thing that popped up, and they opened up her checkbook and they were trying to see who she was and what was her life about by looking at her checkbook and looking at her expenses. And I just bookmarked that. It really did something for me, and I bookmarked it, and then surprised the hell out of myself by, having money as my theme. I thought it would be sexuality or body or sensuality or food. All those goodies, that's what and then, suddenly it's the doorway is money, is the theme of money. And so as I was asking the question of how can I bring this back to my community in an interesting way, in a creative way, so that they'll do this work and we can all do this together, right away I knew that values needed to be in there. And I remembered this story from Gloria Steinem, and I thought, okay, everyone talks about spending in accordance with your values or investing in accordance with your values. I really fell in love with bookkeeping at the beginning. That was my entranceway, and I was so surprised I could learn it. I was like, oh my God, this is not as hard if you get someone to hold your hand. And I knew that I needed to make the bookkeeping come alive, and I just thought, well, we need to add our values in, and we need to rename things. And yeah, maybe it's out there for some people, or maybe they just want to keep the regular names of rent and mortgage and groceries, but I want to change them.
Yeah.
So, we change rent and mortgage to home or sanctuary or love shack. Or you change a debt, a liability from that damn bill, to my big life transition, or my spiritual crisis, or my health crisis, or me transitioning from the corporate world, and going back to school to be a therapist and starting my own private practice, and on and on and on. We rename it. We give it the honor and respect that it's due of what was happening in our lives during that time. And this simple renaming really changes things for a lot of people. They go, oh, okay, I can get into this. I want to sit down at my Quicken or QuickBooks and see my life, see my values. So every single person's bookkeeping system is totally unique.
Mm-hmm.
based on what you're doing and who you are and what your life is. And it's just another little tool that some people love and really gravitate to that makes such a difference.
I'm so excited about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So from there, then
Mm-hmm.
we head into the money maps phase, which is all about what phase of life are you in?
Mm-hmm.
What are your priorities and goals and dreams now? And I like to do it in 3 tiers. Because we're all at different tiers and phases in a long life. If we get a long life, if we're lucky to have a long life, there's ebbs and flows. And so that's a really important point for me too, is that even in the creative entrepreneurial world, we're supposed to always be growing and expanding, and that's what success is. And that's just not true. There's ebbs and flows. We know that in our bones and bodies as therapists. We see that in every other area of our life. And that happens in our money life as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very important for me to let in and years ago, and to repeat that in my community over and over and over. What year are you in? Are you in a growth year? Are you in a simplifying year? Are you in an expansion year? We think we're supposed to be making more, saving more, giving more every year. And that's how people do successful money relationship. That's not how it goes. Life happens, right? So I like to plan, but life happens, right? And so to come back to these 3 tiers, the first tier is what I call bottom line basic needs.
Mm-hmm.
The second tier is comfortable lifestyle, and the third tier is ultimate. You can name them whatever you want, right? Again, like the word budget, I do not appreciate. I do not.
Yeah.
And it feels like a bad rigid diet.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it's good to do a food cleanse or every once in a while, and we have to do that money cleanses, and that's a little different than a diet, right? But I even renamed that to a map of intention at first. Then it became a money map. Some people call it a spending plan. Again, just come up with your own names that feel good to you and that you connect with and feel empowering. So these 3 tiers, some people just start with the first tier. They want to make sure they're meeting their basic needs. And so I want you to define bottom line basic needs now. It's different 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 10 years in the future, right now. What does this mean to you? What does it feel? And then list out all the expenses and then actually add numbers to it and get that total. And that's your bottom line basic needs total that you need to be meeting, right? And so what's amazing to me, and then we move on to comfortable, and what do you add in there? Do you add in more self-care? Do you pay down your debt? Do you travel? What does comfortable feel, look like? And what do you imagine it to be? What are the extra expenses go towards that? What do they represent? I want that total. And then the same thing with ultimate. Now, some people can only focus on basic needs and meeting that and exceeding that first before they can go to the second. Some people need the next tier to inspire them and to see, where they're going so they have something to reach to. I always like to know the next tier, and I always like to know the numbers. Now, the numbers used to terrify me. They tell a story. They in graduate school, my bank statements would come and I would throw them out. That's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it just scared me. And then when I finally got in there, and obviously with lots of body check-ins, I like to add a little bit of dark chocolate and candle lighting, and I like to make it a fun, sacred space. Then, eventually the numbers become more neutral, or you form a relationship with them. They're not as scary, and they become allies, and they help you plan. So these tiers are something that I map out once a year. And then every month I check in. How am I doing? Am I on track? Am I off track? Every 6 months, you might want to reevaluate things. And it's something to strive for. And we're always balancing being in the present moment and feeling good and feeling satiated with striving for that next place that we want, that next growth place. And I do a money map in my personal life and in the business. They're completely separate entities. We merge them. So at the beginning of my business, it definitely felt like it was all merged. I am my business. I am my practice. And then at some point, and for therapists, it's kind of interesting because for me, it didn't shift until I had a team. And I brought on bookkeeping trainers and financial coaches under my umbrella. And then I felt like, all right, now my business is really a separate entity. It's a separate animal. But as therapists and coaches, we kind of all feel we're the same, but it could use some separation. Mm-hmm. And so to imagine doing a money map, one for your personal house and one for your business. They really they influence each other. They impact each other, but they should have different goals.
Such a good idea. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Well, so I'm wondering, what would you, for therapists in particular, what would you recommend as a way to start and dive into your work? I guess I'm thinking one thing I would throw in before you even answer is that I think they should get your book. I mean, it's available now and it's beautiful. It's really telling a whole lot of stories to walk people through this process. So that's one thing I would recommend, but your turn. What else?
Well, I would say the same thing. I mean, because I've been wanting to write this book from day, as soon as I started giving talks on this methodology, people would say, well, when's the book? And I'd say, soon. It's coming. It's, soon. And I read memoirs and fiction. It's rare. I'm reading The Tao of Pooh to my almost 8-year-old son. So I do read some nonfiction, but I needed it to be filled with stories, my own stories and the community stories. So a friend said it was riveting. She said, I can't believe I'm saying your book about money is riveting. And I was like, thank you. That's amazing. So please get the book because this is the most, it's almost 300 pages, but it's filled with stories and it's $22, and it's filled with so much of the methodology. So a lot of people are just curling up with it, who we've given early copies to, and they're earmarking and writing notes. And I can't wait to, and book clubs are going to start. So get the book.
Yeah.
The second thing is that my site is filled with a lot of free content every 2 weeks or so, unless I'm in a launch time, like now. We put out an article, a really solid, deep article that covers one of the phases of Doorways: money healing, money practices, money maps. And I'm interviewing people all the time. So come to the site, baritessler.com, and there's a little mini free pocket map, which is our little mini Art of Money course. And so it gives you a really good taste too. So get the free pocket map, get the book, enjoy your site.
Yeah.
And find me on social. Yeah. And find me on social media because I'm there.
Great. And you're going to, I'm going to link to all of your stuff, in this post as well. So it'll be easy to get to.
Right.
Thank you so much.
I would say the last thing is my book tour is starting in a few weeks. So if you're in the States and Canada, there's some places that you can come see me live, which I would love. So that's happening all summer and fall. So
great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bari. Thanks for being with us. Really appreciate it.